Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Matt at Cassette Cycling. I've got a really good one for you today. This is what I'd like to think of as my home course. This is ELDO in Long Beach, California, racing the P123s. Let's dive in, check it out. All right, I'm just going to acknowledge the elephant in the room. What made this race so special is we had one of the best crit racers in America, the one and only Mr. Corey Williams from the Miami Blazers. So he was joining us in the field today. And this is one of the really cool things about this series. It's a twilight series. It's weekly here in Southern California, and you just never know who's going to show up. So I think everybody was really excited to get to race with this guy, and the field was a little extra motivated today, I'd say. Here are the race stats. We can just cover this real quick. We raced for a little over an hour, and I averaged 290 watts and normalized that at 325 with a max at 1,013. And we did just over 27 miles an hour for our average speed, and my heart rate average was 157 BPMs with a max at 178. And this is a pretty flat course with a couple teeny tiny little rollers on the back stretch. So we got 209 feet worth of elevation gain, and we covered just over 27 miles. One thing about this race is that they run several other races alongside this one, so it's a fairly big course, I'd say. For a crit, I want to say it's 1.4 miles, but they'll run the women's race, the Cat 4-5, and the Masters 40 Plus. Those kind of overlap over the course of like 20 minutes or so. So we have this like rolling start that we do, usually lasts until this past this first turn, and then things start to get up to speed. So the course is really flat, like I had mentioned, and I guess the two big features with this course are the wind. That's probably the biggest feature, and that's something that is always a thing here. Today we had it coming from the southwest at just over 7 miles an hour steady. And then also the pavement. There's a lot of cracks and some divots, and it's pretty rough. And I've actually chatted with guys that have been racing this race for a long time, some over 20 years. In fact, this race has been going for over 40 years. I think it started as like a training crit, and then it actually became a USAC sanctioned race. But these guys that have been racing this race a long time have said that this has never been repaved in the time they've been racing it. So it checks out because it's pretty bad in sections. So this is turn 3, and this takes us into these two little baby rollers that I had mentioned earlier. They kind of give us a little bit of elevation gain. I want to say it's maybe only like 8-9 feet per roller, but you can see also right there all the horrendous asphalt. So you really got to know your lines. And this is also the section of the course where you really feel the wind most of the time, because with the beach not that far away, the wind is usually coming from the southwest or west. So staying on the inside, being protected like I am right here by the guys on my right, this is definitely the move. You can save a lot of energy this way through this section of the course. With this being a regular weekly series, like I had mentioned, you tend to see a lot of familiar faces. So it's nice, aside from being able to make friends, you get to learn the riding and racing styles of these guys. And I think, ultimately we're all just kind of pushing each other, making each other stronger. So we're making our way into the start-finish, and this section is usually really fast. This is when we get a bit of a tailwind normally. So there's many laps when we're coming through here doing around 31 miles an hour, I'd say. And then this section, there's a pond over here, and occasionally we get some geese and ducks out on the course, so could be really interesting navigating those guys, but definitely adds a bit more of a dynamic to this race. You guys have probably noticed that these turns aren't super tight. In fact, they're pretty soft and very manageable. So yeah, this course is pretty wide open. In this P123 field, we generally see it 2x2 around most of the course, unless there's a surge and we're going pretty fast, and then it'll go single file. As I mentioned earlier, I consider this my home course. I was down here racing almost every week last season in the Cat 4.5s, and enjoyed some success. Got on the podium once, I believe, and came really close a couple other times with some fourth place finishes. But I had a lot of top 5s, top 10s, and I really feel like this is kind of where I learned how to race. Because last year was my second season, and this is just such a good training ground. I just cannot say enough good things about this series. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit so we can get into some of the action of the race. There's usually a lot of attacks and counterattacks that go, and many times breaks that actually will stick. So let's move ahead here and see what happens. Here's an attack. You can see Corey jumping, as well as one other guy making their way up to, it looks like 2 guys off the front. But this is kind of what these attacks look like here. But you can also see that the field is really motivated today, so everyone immediately hops on this and works to stitch it all back together. Moving ahead just a little bit, we're still in the process of stitching this up. The guy in the blue and black right in front of me is Brandon York, and this guy is one of the hardest working guys in the peloton, out week after week. He's always getting in the breaks, and you can always count on him to work really hard to close these things down. For me, I'm in the position right now where I'm still developing the fitness to hang in this field, so I'm trying to be really conscious of my efforts, which is why I pulled off to the left here, and I'm letting the field move by me on the right, and then I'll just slot back in. But this is kind of the trick to this race, since it's so exposed. It's not a huge field. Usually we're working with like 20 25 guys, maybe. I think the biggest I've seen this year is 35. But yeah, you're definitely eating quite a bit of wind, and you're a lot more exposed in this race than you are some of the other races here in Southern California, which can get fields in excess of 100 guys deep. Here's a good example of it getting like really strung out, and we're all single file. Things are pretty fast here. But yeah, this is really common with these surges on this course with this field. Here we're passing the Masters 40 plus race, and you can see them staying off to the right. This is usually an area where attacks go when the fields are passing one another. So you have to stay on top of what's happening at the front of your race. And something to note here is that the races can't intermingle. They have to stay separate, so this is understood before the races start, as our official points it out. What's wild to me, and I'm still getting used to this, are these surges into the headwind. This section last year in the 4.5s, we would be up around the speed going into the sprint, and here we are, hitting this just in a random surge. And also just another reminder that you really have to stay alert and paying attention, because if you get off the back, it is very difficult to get back on with the speed that this field usually averages. Here's a moment here where there's a potential split that's about to happen, and the field is very motivated today, so this gets closed down almost instantly, which is great. But a couple weeks ago, we had a big split happen where I think there was 9 or 10 guys in the front group, and then the remainder of the peloton was left over. And then I think last week we had a break of 6 go, and then there was a chase group of 6 that had gone off the front of the field, and then I was in what was left of the field. So you do have to stay like really, really hyper aware in this race. So I forgot to mention I do have one teammate with me today, right in front of me. This is Daniel Beltran, and we've been doing this race almost every week together, which has been great. I can't stress enough on this course how important it is to stay as sheltered from the wind as possible. So while it looks like I'm not necessarily riding on the wheel in front of me, I am doing this on purpose. I'm kind of staying more to the left. And on this part of the course, you'll see I am staying more to the right. So Jack from Rose Red Bikes right in front of me. I'm not directly on his wheel. I'm just to the right of his wheel. And so, yeah, this is intentional as well. And Sharon's right. That's Racing 101. That's two-time national champ, Sharon Smith. And yeah, we just started soft pedaling through that section, and that's exactly when Corey Williams sent it. And I think there was one other guy off the front that he was bridging up to. And speaking of national champions, this is Rasan Bahati right in front of me, 10-time national champ. So yeah, you guys can see this field is very rich in talent. So there's just so much to learn from guys like this. I try to watch guys like this like a hawk and just see what they do throughout the course of the race. Here's a moment where I almost get caught out of position with Eli and TJ pulling off there to the right. So this gap is open in front of me, and you just have to instantly close something like this down, otherwise your race is done. You can see there's 3 guys just off the front, and the field looks like it's about to stitch this up. Here we have a counterattack going, and some people in the field are instantly hopping on this, but then you can see this tentative quality in the field. So in this moment, like, I decided to follow these wheels, follow Sharon and Jason, and there's Corey, and yeah, everybody starts to slot in, but occasionally you'll see the splits happen there in the field in those moments. So Daniel, a couple bikes up in front of me, you can see him moving up. It looked like there was a bit of an attack, but that kind of stalled out, it seems. And then he just kind of kept that momentum going, and he's slipping away right now off the front. So you don't ever chase teammates, but I see these guys moving a bit quicker here, and I hop onto their wheel just so I can get up towards the front and just kind of keep an eye on what's happening with Daniel. So you can see the guy in front of me, Kenny, he turns back and sees that I'm Daniel's teammate, so he knows I'm not going to pull and chase my own teammate down. So I just decide to stick on his wheel, though, and see what happens here, because we're catching Daniel. Yep, sure enough, he goes for a counter. Now, in this moment, I should have immediately hopped onto that and seen this moment coming, but I am never in this position, and I'm not a breakaway guy. And yeah, my teammate was not happy with me, and he was letting me have it, as he should. This was definitely my fault, but I hop onto this. And like I said, I am not a breakaway guy, so I don't have a lot of experience with this. And I know that this field, for me, I'm still building this fitness, and to be in this position, I'm just trying to be extra cautious, so I don't want to use all my matches up in this move. So I'm being just as conservative as I can be, honestly. So doing a really quick pull and just get these guys through. So, and just like that, it is all brought back together. But that was a good experience for me. And actually, just to get into a break in this field, it just kind of took me by surprise. That whole situation just unfolded so quickly. But it gave me some confidence, you know, and I don't know that I necessarily have to be as afraid of being in the break. But I do know, like I said earlier, with these speeds, this field usually averages around 27 to like 27.3, 27.5 per race. So to make a break work here, it really needs to be 28 miles an hour or higher, which is fast. And those are some really hard efforts. So we got a lull in the pace here, and a group of 5 go off the front. And I believe my teammate is in the mix for that. So I am just going to kind of sit in, and see what happens. So you can see here we still have 3 off the front. So 2 have fallen back. I feel like this is a tough time in the race to get a breakaway going on this course. This late in the game, it just seems like the field is going to bring everything back, and especially through this section, which is always, like I had mentioned, really fast. You can also see I'm at the very back of the race right now, so I need to start thinking about moving up when the opportunities present themselves and start getting into better position and get myself ready for the sprint. This is a good section here with the pace slowing and this lane open on the left, so I absolutely seize this opportunity to move myself up. And that's Corey on the front there, and I honestly feel like most of this race, everybody was just watching his every move, just trying to figure out what he was going to do, and then just doing their best to follow his moves. So I've got to say, being still pretty new to the sport, and this only being my 3rd season, that getting to race with someone like Corey was just such a treat, because I used to watch a lot of his videos on YouTube. In fact, I still do actually. But yeah, just very aware of what his brothers, like Team Legion, what they've done for the sport, and now with the Blazers and the Outlaws that they, I believe, own as well. And their brand. It's just, yeah, it's pretty cool. And so, having said all that, we have another break. It looks like. So this is Brandon York, who I mentioned earlier, is the breakaway artist of ELDO, and he's got Eli from Bros Ride Bikes on his wheel. This is a dangerous move, so I just have gotten into rotation on the front here. I'm going to do my pull and then flick through the next guy, because we've definitely got to bring this back. And that guy's saying that we've got a gap. That's Tommy Fang right in front of me from Team 6. And so I instantly hop on his wheel. And if we're able to bridge up to Brandon and Eli, this could be a very dangerous move. And we're going to have another guy joining the party here. This is, I believe it's Ricardo Alcina, I think is his name. This is another really strong rider who is usually in the top 10 most races. He's an older guy too, but this dude is strong and he knows where to be. Now what I want to know is, when does a break have too many people in it? Like, is this too many players here in this game, or is this just the right amount? I'm just so inexperienced in these situations, so I'd love you guys' feedback if you want to leave me a comment in the comment section. Some of the people that you see us passing that are singles, they are from other races that have finished. But you can see there's some moments there it gets a little dicey. So at this point, I probably should have turned around to see where the field was, because I was not exactly sure what I should be doing in this moment, because Brandon had been on the front doing a bunch of work, and now he's in front of me. So I guess technically I'm like skipping a pole here. And I did apologize to him after the race just for being a bad brake mate, but yeah, I was just trying to follow like what everyone else was doing, and I wasn't sure what the likelihood that this was going to stick. And it does look like the field is closing down on us here, so I think Eli realizes that, and he's out, and then he's going to slot back in. But this was such a good experience for me. This race had a lot to offer. So this is 2 breakaways now that I've gotten myself into, and for not being a breakaway guy, it was so beneficial for me to experience this, especially at this level. So at this point, my goal is to just slot back in and try to be in decent position and try to recover best I can, because we are coming into 2 to go, I believe. So at this point, this is already a victory for me. I feel so good about this race and what I've done in it. The first couple ELDOs this season, I was dropped 35 minutes in, both of those. And then the remainder, it's been like mid-pack finishes, which I'm not mad about, especially with this being first season that I've been competing in the P123s. But this race really felt like a notch up, and so I'm just, at this point, I'm just so stoked. I'm so happy, and I'm just genuinely hyped to be out there racing my bike, especially mixing it up with the caliber of bike racers in this race. So here's an attack going off the front, and this is my boy Crit Dad with this attack. I remember this. And he looked back to see if anyone was going to go. So I think he was just seeing if anyone was going to take the bait and see if he could get a late break going. A valiant effort, my friend, but yeah, it appears that no one did, and everyone's just saving up their ammunition for the sprint. I love this move. I'm not sure who that guy is, but yeah, he just bombed it from the back, coming up the left side on the inside. That was a pretty sweet move. And I think it was enough of a threatening move that Corey, who's a couple bikes up in front, I think it was enough to lure him out. So him and one other guy go. Looks like Isaiah. So yeah, that kind of jump starts the field, and we're off to the races again. And this is where I flip the switch and hop onto the train as well. So that haymaker that guy sent a little while back, it looks like that just was the catalyst for this whole thing, where we've got, what, 4 or 5 guys off the front now. So the field's in chase, and we are about to be 1 to go. So one thing I learned last season, racing as many of these ELDOs as I have, it's that the sprint at ELDO is not what I would consider a true sprint. Yes, there is 200 meters to the line just after corner 4, but for starters, the last lap is always super hot, and when we get to corner 3, that's where the fight for position happens, and I feel like it's really a sprint to get to the sprint. So it's just 600 meters of pure pain. So here we are coming around corner 1. We've still got looks like 5 or 6 guys off the front now, and I'm just really trying to do my best to keep my heart rate down and to conserve as much energy as possible, because when we get around corner 2, then we'll be going into like a cross headwind, and then like I said, everything really kicks off at turn 3, and that's where the fireworks begin. And you remember me mentioning about those little rollers on that back stretch right after corner 3. That is enough to inflict some severe pain, because for me, I usually end up spiking over 1,000 watts going through that turn, just to get up to speed, because we'll kick it up. Sometimes these races will kick it up over 30 miles an hour going from corner 3 to corner 4, and that's in a headwind. So there's definitely some strong guys out here, and doing these kinds of races, it's only going to make you stronger and faster. So this is what I'm after. But yeah, this just has never felt easy to me. This is just always such a painful lap. So it's at this moment that you don't want to obviously be at the very front, and you don't want to be tail gunning. There's Jack, who just passed me on the right from Bros Ride Bikes. He actually got second in this race, so he did an excellent job of moving through the bunch through this section. But for me, you saw the big spike there. This has just always been so hard for me to get up to speed, and in this pro field, it's usually 30 miles an hour through this section, and this is before we hit the sprint. This is such an absolute grind between corners 3 and 4. We are still not at 200 meters to go, and I'm in the red for sure. And now we're at 200 meters. So you can see just how brutal this is. Not your typical sprint finish. And anyway, I picked up 11th place, which is the best finish I've had all season. And what a race to do it on. So that's it. Like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one.